Alaska and Corla, and I want to welcome the family here. I wish we didn't have to welcome you here, but I do. I welcome the apology, and I welcome the changes that are proposed, that we're going to have a review of the bail law with a 4 months time limit. I welcome that there's going to be a change in legislation in relation to a direction from a judge that the lesser charge can be put, and I welcome the fact that there's already been a change to legislation in relation to leaving the scene of the accident, that it's an indictable offence. I also welcome the scholarship. I welcome all of that. However, I have the most serious concerns that questions have not been answered and therefore we cannot learn. I don't think the Farrell family can bear the burden anymore of going forward, and again, like other speakers, I'll be entirely guided by them. It's ironic, but a life sentence was imposed on the Farrell family, not on the person who had committed all of the offences. A life sentence on a family. It will be 14 years on the 2nd of August. And they have persisted and persisted with each one of us. And I have been here for 3 elections, and they've come after each election with dignity and with respect and sat with us to force us to do something. And indeed they succeeded, because we put motions before the Dáil, various opposition groups, and we stood together to have an inquiry. And so while I very much welcome the apology today, and I very much welcome that the Minister has gone through it to say, we know the facts, and we don't need an inquiry to tell us about the facts. Who's going to tell us what led to those facts? Where does that question go? How did this happen? How were matters not brought to the judge that so clearly indicated that the man should be brought back before him? Who is going to answer these questions for us, and how can the system learn, not just the Gardaí, but the court system and everybody else? Because other families have also been affected by the failures that we're outlining here. So while I welcome the apology, and I hope it gives some solace to the family who have worked for 14 solid years to get us to this point, parallel with that, how do we learn, Minister? How do we prevent this happening in the future? And every opportunity I've got, I say, my introduction to the Dáil was the O'Higgins report in relation to Sergeant McCabe. I went on from there to read the Charlton. I read the Morris Tribunal, and anything I could lay my hands on. And each and every time, significant bad behaviour, significant gaps that we really haven't come to terms with within this. We thought with the Morris Tribunal that criminality was limited geographically. In relation to this case and the failure to bring matters before the courts, that happened in other cases as well, which led to very serious consequences for the failure. So the big gap that I see here today is the failure to account for how we have this litany of facts in relation to a man who then went back to his own country. And I stand here humbly and say, I really don't know where to go next, really. It has taken 14 years of this family giving up their lives in memory of their son and their brother to get this seat of democracy to say what happened was absolutely wrong. These are the facts. It shouldn't have happened, but we won't have an inquiry because we know the facts. It seems to me a circular argument, really. I don't know, I have reluctance myself in relation to inquiries and how they go on forever. I share those concerns recently with the Farrelly inquiry and so on. But we need to look at what led to those facts. What have the Gardaí learned? What have Gardaí management learned? Why aren't the reports being published? If this apology is sincere, and I've no doubt, Minister, that you're sincere, but you're apologising on behalf of the state, on behalf of the government, on behalf of the institutions that utterly failed, then going along with that apology must be the publication of the reports, at the very, very least. And finally, I'll finish to say the scope and exercise was an absolute disgrace to talk about the victim being guilty, or not guilty, but being at fault in terms of not having a light and so on. That was just really a burden too much to bear. So thank you very much for being here today, and you have helped us. Thank you.
John Mahart.